This is IGN.
Slicing and shooting as the Merc with a mouth is nothing short of a blast. This is your IGN review of Marvel's Deadpool VR by Gabriel Moss. Spoiler note, this review avoids any of the specific twists and turns of the story, but it does mention some unlockables and characters in case you want to go in totally fresh. I spent the last week embodying Wade Wilson in Marvel's Deadpool VR, slicing and shooting my way through Mojo's twisted interdimensional reality show, and I can confidently say the fast-paced parkour combat on offer here is nothing short of a blast. This is the first Deadpool VR game, built exclusively for MetaQuest 3 and 3S, and it's way more comprehensive than I expected from what could have easily been a shallow, licensed tie-in. It didn't get old to see Deadpool's head roll off his shoulders, my shoulders, mid-battle, or watch my severed arms flop around on the ground to the backdrop of a comedic one-liner delivered by Lady Deathstrike. This is a relentlessly witty, often fourth-wall breaking, and highly replayable single-player campaign that stands out as the best superhero VR game on Meta's marketplace since 2024's Batman Arkham Shadow. Whether you're a Deadpool fan looking to step into the Merc with a mouth's shoes, or just here for a good old-fashioned VR shooter with tons of secrets and a good sense of humor, Deadpool VR is surprisingly complete. The campaign took me roughly 10 hours to finish, but there are secret levels to find in alternate Deadpool variants like Lady Deadpool and Deadpool Kid to unlock, each with unique dialogue and Easter eggs that could easily push playtime much further. The combat itself is immediately arcadey rather than going for deep VR immersion territory like Half-Life Alyx, which at one point Deadpool VR gleefully mocks itself for not doing, in a very Deadpool-like manner. But for what it sets out to do, it feels way more thought through than most VR action games. The very first mission hands you dual pistols and katanas and shows you a nice big group of enemies to experiment on. That's what Deadpool VR is all about. Kinetic movement through dynamic environments, creative kills, and irreverent goofs. This implementation really does capture what makes the character work. You can wall run, double jump, grapple across arenas, strafe around opponents, or dive kick into clusters of enemies, and it all feels great without ever getting too easy or unbalanced. Deadpool VR's combat system has a satisfying rhythm where you have to time things right if you want to score the slickest kills. It's enabled by wall running, power sliding, and dive kicking, which all feel really good in VR because the arenas are built with plenty of open space to get creative with your maneuvers. You can use your katana to disable an enemy up close, dive kick into them to push them away, pull out your pistols to finish the next guy off, grab an assault rifle from a nearby locker to blast the big baddie coming down the lane, throw that rifle at him to instantly reload it and refill the ammo meter, then wall run, dash, and power slide around to get the next target. It's super kinetic and satisfying, made even better by the grappling gun and plenty of grapple points scattered around most arenas. There's a decent collection of enemy types to maneuver around too, including the typical grunts that you'll rip through like tissue paper, shield carriers that need to be disarmed with a little more tact, and more powerful zone-unique enemies that you'll typically want to pick off earlier in a battle before they can make things difficult. The gore is cartoonish but consistent and appropriate with Deadpool VR's humor and graphical style. Think very detailed cartoon dismemberment and giblets rather than realistic splatter. Each zone also introduces unique weapons that fit its theme, keeping combat fresh throughout the campaign rather than letting it devolve into mindless repetition. My only real problem with combat is that the boss battles feel way too choreographed. Time slows down and you need to make specific moves in a row or else a cutscene will pull you out of VR entirely. That part is kind of jarring. Worse still, if you're executing one of those timed combat moves against a boss and you're not standing in the right spot, it can jar you entirely out and push you back to the quest lobby until you reposition yourself. It's not clear why that happens and it feels like a bug that needs patching. Visually, Deadpool VR looks much better on Quest 3 than on Quest 3S, and after the first few levels I just stopped trying to play with my 3S at all. Performance was smooth overall across both platforms, but the cel-shaded graphical style just goes so much harder on the standard Quest 3. It's enjoyable to look at and listen to through and through regardless, even with all the chaos of combat making the Quest 3 work harder to render everything at 90 frames per second. With vibrant colors, intricately detailed levels and characters, punchy weapons, and high-fidelity cartoon gore that pops. The sound design and music are also pretty good, though there were definitely points where the audio got blown out or the Quest started making a buzzing noise because it was too stressed. Typically during particularly hectic sequences with vehicles or tons of enemies on screen. Deadpool VR has a variety of comfort options that's always nice to see. I'm a longtime VR user, so I went straight for the no-holds-bar VR Hero experience. But I'm glad there are 3 comfort modes available, the easiest of the bunch setting a baseline for beginners, snap turning with comfort blinds and no screen shake. Even though I took the most intense one, I appreciate that the most visually intense sequences, usually passenger shootouts and vehicles, are still entirely skippable if needed. There's also a kid pool mode that removes as much vulgarity from Deadpool VR as it can, which is cool to include, I guess, but kind of defeats the point. Marvel's Deadpool VR adds to a growing roster of great licensed superhero games that help prove VR games can be more than shallow tie-ins. Its kinetic combat system kept me engaged for the entire 10-hour campaign, and the alternate Deadpool variants with genuinely funny, unique dialogue made replaying levels feel worthwhile rather than like padding. As the default Deadpool, however, Neil Patrick Harris's performance delivers exactly what you'd hope for, and the reality show framing enhances the overall story rather than feeling gimmicky. If you're up for dark, lowbrow comedy and fourth-wall-breaking meta-humor, then this is easily the most complete and entertaining superhero VR experience since Batman Arkham Shadow. Just make sure you're playing on Quest 3 to get the most out of its vibrant visuals. Marvel's Deadpool VR's IGN score? 8 out of 10. Thanks for listening to IGN. My name is Zeke Robison, and for the latest Deadpool updates, visit us at IGN.com.
Spoken Layer.